Hello, 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 and welcome back to Tea.Coffee.Water. I am your host, Natalie Poindexter, and this week we have Sarah Parker with us. I know I read her bio last week, but as trend goes, we are doing a deep dive into who she is, how we met, why she's on here, and a little bit more about our tea coffee mashup. So thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hey, I am so excited to be here and so excited that we met and that all of this is happening. It's great.
No, who would have thought that from one networking event that we would be here?
It's such
And so,
a
right, like we
beautiful, serendipitous time.
met, yes, and even more so, like our one previous meeting where I'm like, do you want to be on a podcast with me?
Yeah, and I was like, sure, yes, sign me up. I'm in.
Yeah. I think honestly, you're the first person who I've asked to actually be on the podcast who's come back with like a paragraph of ideas.
I have too many thoughts in my head at all times, and if I have different places to direct them, that usually works out better for everyone.
Facts, full facts. I said to someone earlier today, like, I could show you the 52-page plan that I wrote
I
if you
respect I respect that number of pages.
if you want to read it. I have it available for you. So we're here in Austin, Texas, and we met at Fiesta Community, which I you've heard with Tayo, who was a guest previously. Fiesta is this very unique space that's been created that somehow, 300 to 400 people meeting once a month,
Oh, yeah.
which that one is
Bananas.
the first time I came was like the 400 week month.
Mm,
And I stood outside. So mind you, it's held in the first floor of like a business hotel.
Capital Factory.
Capital
If you know,
Factory.
you know.
Yes, yes. And so I'm like, oh, this is really pretty. And then you come around the corner and it's people, like people are just
Hmm.
pouring out of the doors. It was like Easter Sunday at Capital Factory. Like,
Yeah, it's if you go to the big Fiesta event, it is like this fun, chaotic, lots of energy. You will meet some people and you will have a very good, fun, interesting time.
yes. And then like, which is on the other hand, the women's events,
Yes.
which are like intimate,
Hmm.
one-on-one, lots of just like, you look like you
Oh,
might be my people.
yeah, so intentional, which I love about it.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Like, I don't know. Big kudos, big shout out to Cherie and John for like
Hmm.
making this opportunity happen. If you're in Austin, you know those names. If you're coming to Austin, you will know those names. And you have to check out Fiesta because there's just like, it's almost like this like drive-by community,
Yes.
where people are like, oh yeah, I was just on my way in and someone said we should go.
Yeah. And the tech industry in Austin keeps growing. It can feel really overwhelming. So it's so nice to have like a real, like thoughtful community that is growing at the heart of it.
Yeah. And I feel like even more so the direction that it's going is to
Hmm.
make those relationships. And I just put a post out on LinkedIn of like, who would have thought that from this 400 person first time event to now,
Hmm.
I've done a podcast with you. Taryn is coming on.
Yeah.
I know, right? Y'all, Taryn and we're probably gonna have to do the like uncut, unedited bourbon portion. Like
Yeah. I'll be ready to listen to that episode.
I don't this is after you put the kids to bed.
Hmm.
So yeah, so okay, tell us more about you. Tell us where you are, how you got to where you are. Like, I think that your journey is absolutely amazing and more people need to hear about it. And that's why we're here. We're doing this tea coffee mashup. Coffee because as business women and professional
Hmm.
women, like just sharing that experience, that conversation, and your subject matter expertise in that marketing space, but also the tea of like everything that I just said
Yeah.
triple underline being a woman.
Yes. Yeah. So I am currently a freelance writer. I have been in the tech industry in Austin for about 14 years, which is crazy. What is time? A flat circle. But I've worked in content marketing for all of that time. I've worked at various startups, all the way through acquisitions to working at like giant behemoth companies in the tech industry. And recently just started my own LLC. So that has been an adventure.
Big snaps. Yes, yes.
Yeah. So really thinking about as I emailed you and all of my notes, just thinking about the pivot that I've been doing in my career and how that feels harder. I mean, it feels hard at any time. It's hard if you do it when you're younger because you don't have as strong of a network and you don't have, usually as many resources that you can depend on. And then it's hard if you're more established in your career because you're like, oh God, did I just blow everything up? Like, should I just stay in the corporate world and climb the ladder like everyone else does? And the thought of that makes me want to launch myself into the sun. So I think that gives me my answer there.
It hurts my spirit. Just like I've put in job applications and I'm like, why did I do that? Like that won't work. It,
uh, I mean,
yeah.
I'm not against returning to a corporate role if I found one that I thought was a really good intentional fit on both sides.
Yeah.
It's just that, especially with the state of the tech industry now and in the last year, and it just to mash up into that tea portion, it's really felt like most of the people who are in charge are pushing back on any of the like bargaining power that employees had gotten during COVID. And they're saying, no, we need you back in the office. No, we're going to pay you less. No, we want to just do all of these, unravel everything that has made working better and just try to force it back to butts in seats and time on a calendar, which are not, those really are not the best measures of people's productivity and definitely not of the measure of your worth as a human being.
Yes. No, and I feel like, two part this will lead into I mentioned this previously in my other episodes of a comment from Mark Cuban from South by, and it just listening to what you said, this resonates so thoroughly where he's like, some people have this skill and ability and they want to make it a business, right? But
Mm-hmm.
they're not ready. So imagine this line in the sand. They've got one foot in the corporate world, they've got one foot in their business, but neither one is really getting all of the effort and energy that it needs to be
Yeah.
amazing, right? And so then you have people who aren't quite even at that straddle of the line. They've got both feet in the corporate seat. They're like, you know what? I'm just going to go back to corporate America or corporate wherever. I'm going to be in the lemmings. That's my own ad like version of the lemmings, right? And and then you have these other folks who are both feet over the line where they're like, you know what? F it. I'm in it. I'm going to win it. I'm going to push. I am going to do all of these things. And like, I feel like you answered this in a way, but how, now that you've started your own LLC,
Ah.
which is, of course, like the rave now, how do
Yeah.
you feel like you're embracing your entrepreneur within?
See, it feels, I also put this in my notes. It feels weird to even call myself that because I always thought that that was only, it's always so interesting to just unpack those labels that we have all of these ideas around that we don't even realize that we
Mhm.
have until we, are forced to examine it. So I always thought of the entrepreneur as like the classic, like, oh, I'm going to start a company and I'm going to, be the big boss and, in this case, obviously, I'm a solopreneur, if you will. It's just me. I don't plan to hire any employees. I do plan to grow a network. Hopefully, one day I'll have so much business that I have to be like, I'm sorry. but I can refer you out. So that's the dream for me. I'm not planning to start an agency or anything like that. But just really, I think I'm becoming more comfortable with the label now that it's been a few months, because I freelanced before in the past in my 20s, which was a nightmare time, and then between jobs. But now just deciding to like really go for it and see like, do I have what it takes to really make this stick and grow it into something that's a real career. Wild. um yeah, I've become a little more comfortable with that label and thinking about, it doesn't just have to be this one stale identity attached to it, that you can take that like any other label that society hands you and make it your own.
That's so interesting. I mean, I know you said that before in our notes and our prep. And as always, right, like we have this outline of what we're covering, but in true fashion of my disruptiveness, right? Like this is not scripted,
It's
right?
very loose.
Yes, we are having like it's a real conversation, right? It's more like conversations with Natalie versus like podcasts,
Yes.
because like you don't even think about the amount of connectivity,
Hmm.
until you get to have that one-on-one conversation. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's been 2 hours, right? And you're like,
Yeah, this will be a 3-hour podcast. No, it won't. This is not, we're not that establishment.
surprise. We threw everything. It's a mashup and we're throwing you for a loop. But yeah, it's just that piece. And so I guess my curiosity is really like, I feel, determine as business owners, because you are a business owner, right? Like,
Wild.
right, which is terrifying also at the same time. You're like, what does that even mean? And
Hmm.
I've had this conversation about being a founder recently. Like, I've called myself a principal consultant and
Hmm.
founder. And so you're saying, like, I don't know if I really call myself an entrepreneur, because I'm not doing your typical process of the
It's not the stereotype.
yes, right. And so I guess again, in true disruptor fashion, I am not technically in the language of, I'm not a founder, but I founded my business.
Hmm.
I made my business from scratch. And so I feel like,
I cried at my computer and I filed the paperwork.
and then I questioned my life. And then I spent 6 months building my website.
Oh, that's intense.
I don't know how to build a website.
I
Let's just
used Squarespace. Please sponsor us.
facts. Same. Okay. That is what got me into South by. So also Squarespace, you're getting people into front of crowds.
Mm.
So hashtag follow back up and we're available.
Yeah.
Uh, we've got a content writer. We can do this all day. It's not a
Yes.
problem. Not a problem.
A prolific content writer.
Whoa. Just keep throwing those adjectives out of there. I love it. I love every
Uh,
moment of it.
I'll be multi-adjectived before this is over.
But I guess my thought process is like, who who says you're not an entrepreneur?
Hmm.
Right? Or like, who says I'm not a founder, other than what the social norm has determined is? And the social norm is tired.
Oh, it sure is. I am very tired of it.
I mean, you mentioned it already, right? Of just like this idea of butts and seats, meetings on calendars. It looks, the lights are on in the building, that, your productivity is down, your retention
Yeah,
is down.
the lights are not on inside the people, and that is what should count the most.
Yes, because your company isn't successful unless the lights are on inside of the people.
Yeah, I mean, you can make short-term gains if your style of management is management by fear or coercion, but the long-term, like, suffering that comes out of that is going to be so much worse, because
Mhm.
if no one's happy working there, you're going to have higher turnover. It's going to impact your revenue. You're going to have horrific Glassdoor reviews. You're not going to be able to recruit anyone. Like, you got
Yeah,
to think long term.
And that's massive too, because I feel like I did some research and I was like putting together this potential this service of coming in to support organizations before they build a new department. Usually mine is like programming, but it was before you build a new department. And I saw that typically jobs sit on the enters of web for like 4 months. Takes them from the time they post it to the time they hire someone, 4 months. And it's about $4,000 a month that it costs them.
Yeah.
So if you're losing people left, right, up, down, and backwards in between every month,
Yeah.
times that by what, 5, 6?
Not to mention, if you do hire someone, all of the onboarding, all of the training, like it takes, 6 months to ramp up a new employee.
And that's just like, and each level costs more.
Yeah.
And I did the math, and again, don't quote me on any of this, but it was like for, just to get this department started, it was like $100,000 plus.
That tracks as far as I'm concerned.
And it's like, you just blew $100,000 on a
And if if you treat your employees like they're adults with respect and trust, they will pay you back tenfold.
tenfold. I mean, it's like what people say, when you go, it's not work when you love it. It's not work,
Oh.
when you enjoy it, right? Like I remember going through EMT school and someone was like, one of our instructors was like, yeah, people don't do this for the money.
No. But even if you love what you do, I mean, I think the thing that gets lost in that phrase is like, even if you love what you do, because I love writing. I mean, I'm such a nerd about it. I'm like, literally any kind of writing, I will find a way to enjoy it. But I mean, that doesn't mean I don't procrastinate or that it's not frustrating or that sometimes I'm like, why do I do this?
And you question your entire life.
Yes.
So I think that just like leads me into my next mantra question, because I think that is spot on into our tea mantra, which is I'm an effing gift.
Ah.
And the background, and I say this every single time, just so you can have some context into where this came from. I was talking to some girlfriends and we were talking about dating and how men, they want this traditional woman and they want her to be able to like bear children, raise the children, be barefoot in the kitchen, go to work a full-time job, make good money, don't please them, satisfied in all ways, shapes, forms, fashions, be at minimum a size 5 with a Cardi booty. Like you gotta, and you better have a full face on every day that you present to them, and oh, by the way, don't complain about any of that. And it's just like we're bringing our birth certificate to the table. And you're like,
we are alive, we are breathing. I'm sorry, did you have any other requirements?
Correct. And I was like, I don't want to be the snack. Like I am not a snack. I am a whole meal. I am breakfast, lunch, dinner, bam, a smorgasbord. Okay. And it landed with, I'm an effing gift.
I love that. Yes.
And so when you're, contemplating life, transitioning into being a solopreneur, navigating the concept of like potentially going back if it's right, if it feels good, all of those things. How are you reminding yourself that you're an effing gift?
That is such a good question, and probably something I should tape to my mirror in a note, so that I could read it once I put my contacts in each morning. Uh, I think it helps that I am not early in my career. I mean, I'm not, at the top, but I am established enough that I do know, like, I am good at this. I am good at what I do, and I deserve to be paid well for it. I deserve to have that recognized and to also like hold that in the same hand as knowing that I still have skills to improve. I still have, as a writer, you have to get very comfortable with rejection because no
Mhm.
matter how much experience you have, you'll still get rejected on a lot of things and you just get used to it. It stings every time, but you have the coping skills to be like, well, that wasn't the right fit, or that wasn't the right fit right now,
Mhm.
or I now have the opportunity to work on this more. And even if I'm resentful about it in the moment, I know that I can gain more skills and possibly find another opportunity that I didn't even realize existed because this one didn't work out. So reminding yourself that every rejection is not the end of the line and it is something you have to relearn 1000 times.
Right.
But at the end of the day, just remembering, like, even when I was a kid in elementary school, my teachers would tell me that I was a good writer. And so I still, when I'm like stinging from a rejection, I imagine tiny little Sparker who is writing her stories about spiders or whatever deeply weird things I was into as a child. Like she was good at it and she's gotten better at it. And I referring to myself in the third person like I used to do to annoy my fifth grade teacher, but can't wait to see where she goes from here.
I no, I love I feel like there's a book somewhere in that. It's like everything you just said. I see a children's picture book and there's a kid writing about her spiders and salamanders and all of the strange.
Side note, I went to aquatic camp. Natalie knows this fact about me. I went to aquatic camp twice because I couldn't get enough the first time of learning about blind salamanders. So that probably tells you a lot about me as a person.
It's okay because no one would believe I was the nature camp kid because now I'm like, you want me to do what in dirt? Mm-mm, mm-mm. That's not gonna happen. But then I was like mud pies, climbing trees,
Mm.
learning how before oh, what's it called when you go into the wilderness and that man will teach you how to live in the wilderness. What is his
Survivalist,
yeah, survivalist stuff.
subsistence camping. I don't know.
Also, why was I going to survivalist camp at like sixth grade? I don't.
You were just preparing for the eventual downfall of society, and I respect it.
It's like, oh, I learned how to like fry onions and dandelion. Did you know you could eat dandelions?
I did know that.
Well, yeah, I figured you did. For anyone listening, if you didn't know, you're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that they're particularly delicious, but they
Mhm.
will keep you alive and possibly ward off scurvy.
Oh, I didn't think about scurvy.
I'm not sure how high their vitamin C content is, but that's something we can fact check later.
Totally down for it. I mean, I it was that we had like a fried compilation of like wild onions,
Hmm.
dandelions. There was some other thing that we had in there as well. So anyways, yeah, if you're ever wondering about
This is
blind
now a
salad,
nature podcast.
right? I was like, and spoof off is
Yeah.
like, I was just trying to think of like chlorophyll
Mm,
water. Chlorophyll is like, it's like Tea.Coffee.Water, and it's like chlorophyll water is our
there we go. That sounds like a new health trend we can start.
funny thing. In the Dominican, they drink it all the time.
Ah,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
that's good. I'm going to be Googling that immediately after this.
Really hydrating. I'll send you the wellness retreat that I went to. It was great. It was great.
Excellent.
We went in a whole different. I'm still very excited about this children's book. Like that is
It's got to happen now.
right. I visually see this thing that's happening. I know people are like, what in the world?
You are coming with us on a journey today, and I hope that you are excited about it and strapped in.
Because we don't know.
We
We
don't.
don't.
It's like the magic school bus. We could end up anywhere.
Okay, so random. This is basically tea. Not even. It really is tea. Girl, I was dating this man and he watched cartoons like it was his job.
Mm.
Don't ask. I don't even know. I don't. The choices we've made. Okay.
Mm.
The choices we've made. He's also a college professor, like
You
PhD.
know, the heart wants what the heart wants,
Poor
and
choices.
sometimes it's cartoons.
We all make choices. is. Bless him.
Yeah, I
I'm sure if
think we
he
all.
ever tunes in, he'll be like, "What? This is a great idea." So, but we would watch the Magic School Bus, and I was like, Mrs. Frizzle takes these babies into some very concerning spaces. And
Yeah,
I'm just,
she's
I
taking
don't
risks.
remember her being like that as a child.
Yeah, she was always wildly unhinged. She was, yes.
Teacher that was like, you just maybe didn't go to the parent teacher conference because you just were like, I don't have the energy. Are you failing the
Yeah,
class? Great. Okay, you're not. We'll go see her the next time.
I think that's the update that needs to be made to this series would be parent-teacher conferences with Ms. Frizzle. I would love to see what Arnold's parents have to say about his experience in her classroom.
Okay, tell me which one Arnold was, because I was just along for
Arnold
the ride.
Arnold was a little redheaded kid, and he was always the one that got like left behind, or like they explored like his body in the school bus.
They
Now
went
that's
up his nose.
they did, yes. So poor Arnold is always the one who is having a bad time.
Who was watching Arnold? Was the lizard? Did he just get left in the classroom when they went up his nose? I remember that one because he was sick, right? And like they went
But
into his
yeah,
nose.
well, when we were children, we were allowed to be unsupervised. So that's just a
That's
reflection of its era.
correct. Correct. We were outside for hours.
You do not come home until dinner.
The street lights had to be on. Yes, facts.
There was a commercial that had to come on the television to remind our parents that we existed and that they needed to figure out where we were.
Do you know where your children are right now? Like, oh,
10 p.m.
them. I forgot we had
Yeah,
like,
things are different now.
oh my gosh, yes. But it just makes me think about just like the things I've seen lately on like social media where it's like the millennials and people are like, oh, I guess nobody's coming for them. And it's like, no, this one woman, she goes onto this rant of like, we were the last latchkey group of children. We
Hmm.
will fight you.
Yeah.
If somebody pushed you down on the playground, we were getting back up and fighting them. We were not laying down crying about it, right? Like she goes through this whole list and she's like, mind your business. We're minding our business. That's where we are. We have survived.
And Gen X is still crying in the corner, like, no one ever talks about us.
Right. And I'm like, and I mean, I think about it, right? Like, do you remember 1999? I know, I mean, I haven't aged a day over 25, but
No, neither of us.
no. Mm-mm, mm-mm. And I just remember sitting there, raised in the church. So we're sitting in church and everyone's like holding hands because Y2K was going to just
Oh,
implode the
yes.
world.
We were worried because the computers could not keep up with the dates because of a programming choice that someone made, and some poor engineers had to work overtime to fix it, and everything was okay. But the general public was really not keeping up with the engineers. So,
Weren't okay. Girl, we were not okay. We were worried. And then what was it like 2012 was like the end of the Mayan calendar or something like that. And we thought the world was
yes,
then
that that was another misunderstanding of a historical artifact that the headlines just ran away with. It was great. It was great on social media during that time. I That was when I first became a social media manager, so there was a lot for me to work with.
you just think about the like chicanery that
Mm.
we read. And I mean, we didn't have social media back then. So it was just what, like MySpace, Black Planet.
Oh, in the year 2000, I believe it was just our like AIM updates and perhaps some surveys that we would email each other on our AOL addresses.
Oh, I was going to say, and for all of those folks listening out there that don't know what AIM is, it is AOL Messenger.
And if you do know what it is, you just heard the little sounds in your brain.
I thought I was so cool, especially thinking about my MySpace page. Like I had to sneak on it at school because I wasn't supposed to have one. Or
Yeah,
like,
though we are both 25, I am just a little bit older than you, so a few months, if you
just
will. I had MySpace in college.
Just a few months. I was basically out of high school at that point. We were not even, we were 2, we were 5. We are savants actually at this point. We are child
Yeah,
prodigies that
that's that was the first time I had my I can feel myself becoming an angry old person moment when I saw someone on social saying like we didn't have influencers back in the MySpace days, that was like the golden era of social media. And I was like, excuse me, how quickly we forget Tila Tequila. And she had a whole show. Like
yes.
we had MySpace influencers, sir. Some of them still have careers.
Whatever happened to Tila Tequila? She
I
was such
don't
a little Spice Girl.
I don't think anything good. I'm
Didn't
not
she go to jail?
I don't know where she is right now, but bless her, I hope she's well.
I might have just made that up. I mean, I had to explain to my friend in New Zealand what Jersey Shore was. So
Mm,
that
yes,
was, and it dawned on me like, I don't even know when that aired and how long it aired. I just know it aired for entirely too long.
it's still on, I think.
Stop it right now.
And
The little one is still on it.
I think they all have children now, so I'm not sure how the content of the show has shifted, but someone told me that recently, and it is possible that they were fucking with me, but as far as I know, it's still on.
With like what was her name? The hot mess. God bless her.
The the small one, yeah, I
Yeah,
don't.
because I know she was pregnant.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe it's just
That
a show
is it
about her
like
small child now.
a community baby. I've seen that.
Maybe
That's
they're Jim Tan laundrying as a found family. I hope. I
it's
hope
no.
that's what's happening.
Have you seen this? Like, it's like a college student trend with the babies, and like they have a baby in college, and then like the college students raise the baby.
That's beautiful, but seems like a bad choice.
Questionable at best. Questionable at best. Can you imagine the 6-year-old version of that child? Like you're the DD at that point. Like that's senior year, and you're
I'm just thinking financially, that's going to be a rough
oh,
time.
has to be reason number 652 why I don't have any who's
Yeah, same.
I can barely take care of myself, let alone another human. I mean, I have a fur human.
Yes, my human-sized dog is taking up as much of my resources as I am able to give at this time.
I feel that so thoroughly because we really do. Like sometimes I feel like they eat better than we do.
Hmm.
You know,
She
like
has she has kibble, but it's good kibble.
right? And like, they have like their, plush beds, and like you're like, oh, I could buy myself something nice, but instead I'll get you this new orthopedic foam roll bed that will live.
They deserve it.
I know we don't really deserve them.
This is now time for pet brands to sponsor us. We're just working in all the angles.
We really are, we have covered it full gamut. I mean, just throw it in there, right? Like we can obviously we don't you don't need to write the content. You all just send us the idea. Sparker's got the content, we've got the page.
Yes.
You'll just done. You don't
Big
have,
Barker, I'm looking at you. B needs a third bed.
and I love that you said she needs a third bed. Like,
Yeah, I may have already bought 2 very expensive dog beds for my large dog.
and it's not, you always see the super cute ones, and then you see that it's for the small size bed,
Mm,
and then you go to
yes,
the extra large, and you're like,
I already know because she's 137 pounds that most things are not for her.
she's a big girl.
She's an English Mastiff. Yes, she's a human-sized dog.
That's a person.
She is my large hairy lady's companion,
My boxer, who's only like 70 pounds.
which most people would consider a large dog.
Correct. No, you have like a small horse.
I do, my beautiful pony.
I'm not mad at it. In undergrad during exam week, one of our professors had like 6 Irish wolfhounds.
Oh my God, this is the dream.
She would bring them into the library, and we would all just like sit with these massive miniature pony creatures.
Yes, that is, I would have taken the class for that alone.
Oh, this was just like a decompression. I went to a very interesting undergrad. So like this was just a space and moment in time for us to decompress. It had nothing to do with a class. Like they were just in the library.
I'm going to need to lodge a complaint with UT that this was never provided for me during undergrad or graduate school. There were no Irish Wolfhounds provided to me at any time, and I am lodging a complaint as a double alumni.
I also feel like maybe that means your student loan debt is gone, if you have any. There's your complaint handled.
I'll be in touch, University of Texas at Austin.
They're like, delete immediately, cut the podcast, cut the YouTube channel. I really appreciate you going on this journey with me because
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely not the same when you're in the room, and eventually we are going to get in the same room together for sure, but like
Yes.
it is a lot of fun to be able to just have a really good conversation with someone. And even more so, I had someone tell me recently, like, yeah, Natalie, you're way more animated when you're with your guests. I can't listen to your solo podcasts like while I'm
Oh,
driving.
ah,
Yeah, they're very like slightly,
introspective.
they're just, I'm gonna say I'm gonna slightly age myself. Do you remember the like dun, 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 dun? Do you remember that song? I don't know, it's an actual song, but it was like the evening. Somebody throw it in the notes. Somebody please comment. I know if you're from Columbus, Ohio, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It was like the after hours radio,
Oh,
yeah, late night adult only music that was going to start, and it was like old school jams.
see, I just assumed that we just recorded the new intro song for your podcast there, so you can always use that.
My own version of it. People would
Yes.
be like, what in the world?
I wouldn't worry about copyright infringement whatsoever.
As I should not, because they would be like, we don't know what she's doing. Anyway, that is like that is who no, you know what? I feel like if you don't know this, I'm gonna feel really silly. Did you watch Psych?
I did not watch it religiously, but I have seen some episodes of it.
Okay, so there was a time where Gus went on to a radio station and he was
Hmm.
okay. So, anyways, it's like that. Imagine your, dimly lit room, dark shades, candles are all around. Like that's kind of the vibe I get.
Frasier. Frasier.
Yes. Okay. So, but like in my mind, this was a little bit more sexy. I feel like Frasier was just like, no
I mean,
shade,
Frasier
Kelsey
thought
Grammer.
he was sexy.
Kelsey Grammer is my guy. Like he made girlfriends. I will always be, which I still am always taken aback by. Love it, but I digress. When I'm solo,
Hmm.
like the ring lights are off. It's not recorded with like the video. It's just like me and my microphone.
Mm.
And so it just vibes entirely different.
Yes, I feel that.
Yeah. And so when I get to do this, and then I also get to just like, some people are like, there's no script. You're just gonna let me, I just get to like run wild.
Here we go, wild on these tangents.
And I hope everyone appreciates it because this is gonna be the rest of this series. This tea coffee mashup is going to be so much fun. Our next episode is talking tea and understanding more of what it means to be in content marketing and tech and how that all integrates, but then also transitioning that into being a freelance writer. I know there are tons of people out there who are looking at opportunities and ways to either make some side money or they just don't even understand the journey of getting into that. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And then we're going to flow into the tea and it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. I'm really excited because I am on, even just for me to like pick your brain, ask you questions, field different things that I'm navigating in my rebrand,
I love
which
it.
is huge, right? And so I know just everyone, like a lot of the business entrepreneurial journey is really challenging because you have to talk about yourself
Yes.
and you have to write about yourself.
Yeah, that part I've got. I do need to refine my elevator pitch, I suppose, even though I've been attending every networking event in the city of Austin.
Love it.
So,
Find us at the next one. We will be at, well, depending on when this releases, we're always at the
mhm.
fiestas.
Yes.
But yes, yeah. Thank you so much for being here with me. This was, I had so much fun, and I hope everyone listening did too. I always try to add a little question to the community to get them engaged. And I
Yeah,
would love to know, what was your summer camp? What was y'all
that's a
summer
good one.
camp? Because I had multiple variations of summer camps.
Hmm.
Some were sports, some were like nature. And
Yeah.
that's my world. So, Sarah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. This has been an absolute delight.
Yes, we are coming back next week live and live in color to talk about coffee, talk more about our coffee series. And I appreciate y'all for listening, for staying tuned. Again, you'll have all of the ways to get in touch with Sparker in the notes, and we'll see y'all again next week. Have a good one.
Yes, come to me with your content. Farewell.